Let's talk about setting boundaries as adults with your family members, especially with your parents and especially with your siblings. Boundaries usually come into play in a point of transition when you are using your preferred name and your preferred pronouns and you're trying to get your family members to adopt and to use the same pronouns and the same names. This is usually when boundaries become really important because that's when you're going to see the most where they're slipping up, where they're really not keeping up, where they're being very, very resistant. So I'm going to give you two things you need to know, two tips in relationship to boundaries. Tip number one, boundaries take time. What do I mean by that? Number one, it takes time for family members to adjust. You have to be able to be willing to give them some time. Why? Because your family members, they're not robots. Because your family members have been accustomed to refer to you, to your gender assigned at birth and to your name for, I don't know, how old are you now? 18, 19, 20, 25, 40, 45, for a long period of time. So they're going to have to take some time in order to make that shift in their brain, and there's going to be slipping up. So time is going to be essential. So giving the time, I think, is a very reasonable thing to do. How much of the time, right? So I say probably anywhere from 3 to 6 months is sufficient time to give them. If after 3 to 6 months, they continue to be very, very resistant, that's a very different matter. Family members who are resistant or who blatantly tell you they don't give a shit, I have to be honest with you, I just don't know how anything can change if they have that type of attitude. Now, family members who actually tell you that they are trying and they're working on it, if they're showcasing to you any kind of progress within the time, moving toward slipping up less and less, well, I would say that's probably a positive, and that means that they're actually actively trying to work on making that mistake less often. So it gives them some time. Tip number two about the boundaries. You have to keep in mind that setting boundaries does not mean you're cutting your family off. It does not mean that you're never going to see them again. It does not mean that you're completely cutting those bloodlines off. Of course, that's also something you can do. That's your choice. Boundaries, all it means is that you're communicating to your family members that there's something that they're doing that makes you feel uncomfortable, something they're doing that is hurting your feelings. As a result, you're setting a boundary for yourself in order to protect yourself. And boundary for you may mean that, hey, until you actually try to work on this a little bit better and showcase some progress, I can't come to family reunions. I can't come and visit you that often, because when I do, I see that you're slipping up. When you slip up, it really hurts me. It really brings up a lot of element of dysphoria. So boundaries are really not necessarily about making drastic changes. It's about simple communication. It's about setting things in place. So those are the two tips I have for you.